use land, you use plants to beautify your environment. And to sustain that, we have seasons all over the world, like dry seasons, rainy seasons. Some people do their landscaping during the rainy seasons, but forget to put in place what it takes to sustain them during the dry season.
Wow.
In landscaping world, during the rainy season, the rain itself can sustain them, water them, keep them alive. But for you personally to sustain them to from year to year, at least you must make provision of water to they are living things, plants, and what they feed on water. Water keeps them alive and keeps them fresh. So on dry season, at least you must make sure you have water, you have people who will be there to water them, not just water alone. You should have people who care about them, because they are living things. They can't talk, unlike us, the human or animals that can give a sign or use our mouth to say we are hungry. Them, they don't talk. So immediately they are starved of water that keeps them alive. You see them kind of being shrink or kind of not standing tall, but immediately you give them that water, you understand, you have sustained their lifespan and you have given them more life to live. But if you don't do that, with the hotness of the sun, at the end of the day they will dry off. So to sustain them, you must make provision of water and people who should water them, weed them of some weeds that they don't need, because some plants, when you leave them without weeding them, the weeds will now compete with them, and at the end of the day the weed can overshadow them and take over the nutrient they have to live. So you must weed them up.
How does it contribute to environmental conservation, and what are its benefits to homeowners and communities?
The benefits comes to every living thing. Plants are air preferring, and when you see all this carbon dioxide emitted by those gases and the rest of those people who burn things illegally without properly burning them in the right place, you can see that the plants will now trap all those carbon dioxide they emitted and give you the fresh air you should breathe. You understand? And plants is very important to us as well. At least it conserve the earth, and there are some time when the weather is too hot, you understand, you can run to a plant or a tree and have your shade and relax and have rest, you understand, in them. So plant does a lot of things for us. Even birds too, you understand, can run to them and cool off and things like that, you understand. Even there are some plants, birds, ants feed on their seeds, you understand. Yes. And there are some different kind of plants, you understand. There are trees, shrubs, indoors, outdoors, you understand. So you should be able to know the one that will fit in where you are using them for a landscape. So there are a lot of benefits to plants, we human beings, the animals, and so there are lots.
So please, can you explain the biodiversity in landscaping?
Okay, the biodiversity in landscaping involves, let me say, when you do the planting landscape, which is necessity and very necessary, you understand. But in most cases, in most areas, if they are unable to lay hands on the plants, you understand, which maybe sometimes if the flowers that they need to beautify the area is far from them, or the distance for them to buy it, maybe in terms of transportation and the rest of it, you understand. That's why you see some of them use trees, you understand, maybe like mangoes, oranges and other trees within them, you understand, to still provide the shade they needed to cool off the areas. And in most homes, you understand, I think even when you plant live trees, it saves a lot of money, because you can notice the area will be cool, it will be calm, and you don't need to waste your money in generating electricity energy, you understand, to make sure when the weather is hot, it needs, maybe some people need AC, and the air you breathe from AC is artificial, it's not the natural one. But if your house is close to trees, you understand, the heat, you understand, the plant will be able to reduce them for you, which means it's giving you fresh air purified for you to breathe, you understand, and it's still serving you in another way to a kind of make the area conducive and convenient for you to stay as well.
Okay, so how can this biodiversity be promoted through sustainable landscaping?
Yes, I can put that to we the woman who is supposed to, do the landscaping. I will advise us, to see the importance of landscaping. Do you understand? Because some of them think it's just I'm minded to waste money, those kind of thing. It doesn't worth it. The space I would have used to build enough house so that I can get a lot of money from tenants and the rest of it. Why will I use them to do landscaping? No, but I want to tell you, and I want to encourage the public, the masses, people, you understand, to try their best. Look, if you go to some advanced countries, Europe, Asia, and the rest of it, you will see them. Their roads, they did a lot of good landscaping. You see them, they have a good sizable land, but they build a small bungalow there and plant trees, flowers, all over the area. And you can, but we Nigerians, if not of recent, we are trying to understand the importance of planting flowers and trees. Previously, they want to put houses, interlock, and the rest of it. And if you look at some houses built, especially here in Abuja, some of them appreciate due to the kind of good landscaping done. There are some plants you can plant in those areas to reduce the erosion from from further damages to other things. So there are a lot of things in terms of landscape, in terms of plant landscaping, live plant landscaping.
So can you at least tell us some of those plants that are necessary for this?
In terms of outdoor plants, yes, trees are very necessary because they provide shades for us. Then although there are different kind of trees you can use depending on the one you like and the one available within your area as well. There are some trees, there are economic trees that can provide fruits that you can pluck, and fruits too are good to our own consumption as a human. Yes, so it all depends on the kind of trees you want, you understand. Then there are some other trees that doesn't provide fruits but they provide shades as well. Do you understand? So, and yes, there are some are medicinal as well. Do you understand? Depending on what you can lay hand on close to your area. And there are some other plants like shrubs, hedge plants. Do you understand? There are some plants that you can use to demarcate fence, that you can use to demarcate maybe car parking space and other things. All of them are two air preferring plants. There are still some other plants that you can use for indoor. Do you understand? That can remove the toxins around the building and emit good air that you can breathe and stay healthy. Yes, so there are a lot of plants species, and there are some that is a little bit higher in price pending, because some plants are being imported into Nigeria, because if the sprouting of seed doesn't survive here, so and Nigerians need them, definitely we have to buy it from those who import them from the country where those plants does well. Then after not seeing them here, they will now adopt our weather.
Let's now look at the water conservation parts. What are some effective strategies for reducing water consumption in landscaping, and how can they be implemented?
Well, in terms of water consumption, in terms of watering the plants, you understand? Well, some people will just open their tap with their hose and leave it there, and the plant will take the fuel it needs to survive, and at the end of the other ones, you understand, is being drained to the floor. I can call that wasting of water. Do you understand? So, and if you want to use the water properly to keep your plants alive, you need to make sure you know somebody who knows how to water them, when to water them, and the limit of watering. Because some plants, especially indoor plants, there are some that doesn't need much water. When you overwater them, you rotten the roots. While there are some that needed much water, do you understand, to stay alive. Unlike cactus, sansevieria, which they commonly call snake plants, and the rest of some plants like that, they don't need much water to stay alive. You can water them once in a week or once in 2 weeks. If you overwater them when they are indoors, they will rot. They will not serve you the purpose. While there are some other plants that needed water often. But the most important thing is for you to know your plants and understand the quantity of water and when to water them. Do you understand? That is why you see, when we want to plant any flower for indoors, we perforate the pots, and we always advise our customers to get iron stands, so that when you place your potted plant on top of a stand, you have a water collector beneath, which will now at the end collect the water from not littering the floor. You know, when you water your flower, you make sure some of the water drain to the water closet, making sure that's telling you that the water you are giving to the plant is getting to the roots. Because when you give it a very small quantity of water, it will remain on top, but what sustains the plant from living is the roots. So if the water don't get to the roots, sometimes it's a problem to the plant.
What happens when we have constant rainfall?
Yes, you know, constant rainfall is for outdoors. It's not for some outdoors too are being planted on the pots as well. Do you understand? Then when you have constant rainfall, it's because they are on the floor. The soil on the ground, you understand, will kind of drain the water immediately and take it down to the soil. So there is no now water return to the plant itself. But if it's in a pot where it's not perforated and the water is not doesn't have enough place to, you know, drain the water, you understand, and keep the plants alive, that's when you see some plants outside. When you see the water log on the pot, you now see them start behaving somehow because the water is in excess.
How can rainwater harvesting systems and greywater reuse contribute to water conservation in landscaping?
Well, when it comes to rainwater, you know, rain has season for that, you understand, and we the woman harvest that rainy season, you understand, to assist us to water our plants, the outdoor ones, not the indoor ones, because the rain will always drop outside to water the ones outside. Then you know, here in town we don't really kind of preserve or reserve rainwater, you understand. So after the rainy season, now we can use the common water we normally use at home, maybe like water boards, borehole, extraction water, and the rest of it to sustain the plant. They are all water, you understand. Even if you have a stream close to you, around you, you can as well use pumping machine, you understand, to extract those water and water your plants, so to keep them alive.
In case where you don't have those things,
you don't need to go into plant landscaping, unless you just want to enjoy it during that rainy season, after dry season, or except those, you understand, who were able to sustain, who were able to stay during the dry season, because some plants are desert plants, even if it's dry season they will still stay alive, while some plants must always survive with water. So in rainy season you must always provide a way of watering those that doesn't, you know, stay in harsh or in a very hot weather like dry season.
So how can you save water during the rainy season for the dry season?
Well, if you have a tank, unlike if you go to some areas, you see them having a big tank and they'll now channel maybe zinc from their roof to the tank, you understand. So during the rainy season, when the rain fall, you see the water from the zinc will now fill their rain to a kind of fill their tank, you understand, to retain the water. But it all depends on the size of landscape you have, because if you have a tank that can't retain water that will serve, maybe if you have a large landscape and the rest of it, at a stage, you understand, the water will get finished and you need more water to, you know, sustain them. So for you to do a landscape, you must have it in mind. You must have it, it's a must, you understand. You must have it in mind to provide a source of water to retain them, to sustain them during the dry season.
So now, how can sustainable landscaping practices promote healthy soil?
Well, you know, if you go to our various villages where they plant trees and other flowers, if the leaves from the trees drops down, they decompose and it becomes manure and it makes the soil fertile. Do you understand? So when they make the soil fertile, that's why when you go to some certain places, you understand, you see the soil is fertile. Whatever they plant does very well, you understand, come out very well. And in some areas where the trees are not much, you know, like some desert areas, you can now look for cow dung, you understand, to apply to them, or fertilizers to apply to them, you understand, for them to now, you know, give you what you want. And if you discover most of all these cow dungs, most of all these manures, you understand, what drops them like cows, you know, other animals that drops like cow, goats and other animals. You can, if you notice, they eat live grasses, you understand, and live grasses at the end of the day, now when they drop them as they feast, you understand, people can now pack them, dry them, you understand, and use them as manure. So, you know, there are a lot of benefit from trees, from plants, you know.
So in a city like Abuja, where we don't usually have animals moving around, where you can get dumps like that, how can one be able to maintain a fertile soil for the plants?
Yes, in a city like Abuja, there are still some other food crops that we don't produce here, but they can get them from the states or other places where they produce them. So here, although somehow it's a little bit difficult for us to get those things in place for use, but sometimes we have no choice. You only spend lots of money to maybe pay the tipper people to go to some Fulani or some cow rearers, settlers in the bush, you understand, pay them there, then use tipper to load them and bring for us while we pay for it. So the same thing as topsoil. Abuja is steady developing, and it's you hardly see fertile soil within the city. So we still have to look for these tipper people, pay them money. Sometimes they charge us more than what is expected due to the distance and the diesel they will consume to go all far away from where they can get fertile soil for us to use. So, well, in all, there must be a solution to it. The only thing, we have to spend more than what is required.
There was a time I visited a garden and I saw some kitchen ingredients like the onion peas and some other stuffs were in some of the sacks where plants were being planted. So how effective is that?
When it comes to plants, there are some other reptiles that feed on plants as well. They are living things, yes. They have to feed on some plants for them to live. But we, that is, rearing the plants, growing them, you understand, we can drop some of all these onion and some other things that can scare those things away from not perforating the leaves of those plants. Because some customers, when they come to patronize us, you understand, and they notice that some of these leaves are being perforated by some of all these reptiles, some of all these reptiles anyway, they will now say, no, why is it having holes and the rest of it, but not knowing that there are some living things too that are feeding on that for them to earn a living as well. So what we normally do sometimes, we now put all those things to scare them away, to now go to the natural unwanted leaves for us, you understand, to now feed on.
Okay, so the onions and the other stuff are not for the soil fertility, but for just to scare the insects away.
Yes, they are not for the fertility. The fertility is if you want your plant to be fertile and the rest of it, you need to put cow dung, chicken poo, goat's poo, and some other decomposed manure from leaves, you understand, from some of all these trees. So to sustain them, to keep them alive, and make sure you water them. And if any infected fungi affect your plant, you need to make sure you use the right gardener who knows the right chemical that is not harmful for you, for your environment, for the family, you understand, the pesticides and the proper way and the proper mixture to use them, you understand, to keep your plants alive.
So what are the challenges some homeowners face in landscaping?
Some of the challenges some homeowners face in terms of landscaping is some of them may have the opportunity to have house or to build houses. At the end of the day, they may not see reason or the importance of planting flowers around them, you understand, or maybe some of them spend some money or a lot of money to do the initial planting landscaping, but they don't have somebody who can assist them to water those plants, you understand, to sustain them. Sometimes when you want to use manual labor, people to do some certain work for you, definitely must pay them. So if the source of income is not there enough to take care of those things, definitely you will not have people, you understand, to do that for you. Except if you have that love, that passion on plants, you understand, you can do them yourself. Because some people don't have passion for plants, you understand. So why some people does, you understand. Why some people who have passion for plants doesn't have time, you understand, to water them. Because there are some times, you understand, you need to water plants, you understand, and for them to stay very healthy, and there are some times don't need to water them. So most times when you are to water those plants to keep them healthy, if you are not around, definitely you know what it means. So it's good for you to have your time, you understand, as those plants are assisting you to take the toxins around you and give you the fresh air to breathe, you should still have your time to maintain them so that they can do more for you.
Okay, now can you provide some tips for us for maintaining sustainable landscaping, including pruning, irrigation, and pest management?
Yes, I can tell you, it always goes on having love, passion for the plants. Planting them is number one, taking care of them is secondary thing, and it's very important. Do you understand? So I will advise and everybody to try your best whenever you want to get plants, whenever you want to buy plants, make sure you understand, because some people are into plants but they don't know the importance of plants, they don't know the usefulness of plants, they don't know the lifespan of some particular plants, because some plants have lifespan. You understand? There are some plants that is meant for indoors, there are some that is meant for outdoors. The ones that is meant for indoors, which their origin, where those plants first came out on earth, you understand, their weather is not as harsh as ours. So when you now bring them in our own weather, which sometimes like dry season they are harsh, you must keep them where the weather will be cold for them. But if you keep them where it's too sunny, where the weather is too harsh, you understand, they may be greenish, they may be brownish. No matter how you try water them, because of the heat, because of the heavy sunlight, may keep them brownish. So that's why we advise you to go to the people who knows about plants. You understand? They can be able to educate you, advise you, you understand, on a particular plant, after asking you questions on the environment, on the temperature of the areas where you want to place them. You understand? With this, it will give them the idea on how to advise you on a particular kind of plant to buy, so that it will now last for you. Because if you buy indoor plants for outdoor, definitely they are not going to do well. Not that those plants are not good for you, not that those plants are not supposed to be alive, but because of where you place them, you understand, that made them to, you know, not to last up to what you expected.
Finally, can you share any success story of sustainable landscaping?
Yes, I can share the story of sustainable landscaping, because
That's the one you have done.
yes, we have done lots. Individual houses, companies, public places. Like when you go to some areas in Abuja, cities on the roads, you will see some of all these trees. You understand? When you see them maybe planted there, is some of us we planted them, some of us we breed them. You understand? The government come and buy from us or contract us to do the planting. Do you understand? If you can check, you see most of the roads done in Abuja, there are some conditions government gives them. You must at least plant grass, some other trees on the roads to beautify them as well. If you, because yes, we working with our barefoot as well is part of exercise. Do you understand? And sometimes, you understand, for you to keep that fit, you will decide to walk with your legs to some certain areas. And when you are walking in a place that has shade during the sunny time, you have that energy to walk as much far as you want. You understand? But if the trees are not there and the sun is much, definitely the harshness from the sun, you understand, wouldn't make you walk as far as you are supposed to walk to keep yourself fit.
Okay, sorry I say finally, but there is this vital question I want to ask. What is the advantage and how does landscaping prevent flood?
Well, yes, landscaping can prevent floods. It all depends on the level of flood anyway, because if it's a heavy flood, most heavy floods, you understand, can still, pull some of those plants, you understand. But it can sustain flood where if you plant the right, flowers, the right trees, you understand. Because when the heat, when the wave is coming from a flood, you understand, now the plant will now sustain the soil around there, will now keep the soil around there firm, you understand. And now it kind of, wouldn't allow the wave of the wave of the water coming, you understand, but to it kind of floods or it take entire area. So planting in some certain areas where water log, where there are floods, you understand, helps to retain the soil, helps to minimize the force of the floods.
Okay, can you just at least tell us the name of the plants that are used to prevent flooding?
Yes, there are a lot of plants like that. It depends on the terrain. Flooding is of different level as well, and it all depends the one the person around were able to, lay hand on. You understand? There are a lot of bamboos. There are a lot of, grasses that reduce or that prevent floods. You understand? That prevent waterlogs. You understand? You can use a lot of trees. There are many of them there. You can use masquerade trees as well. You understand? When you plant them in line, it will reduce the effect of the flood. But the most important thing is, whenever you want to get plants, make sure you go to the right vendor who knows those plants and give them to you to produce.
Thank you very much, sir. You've really done well. You have really spoken well, and I believe viewer out there, you've learned something on how to maintain your environment. So viewer, that's how much time grants us to take. I hope you learned something. I believe that from today you'll stop deforestation and embrace planting of trees. In case you bring down one tree, make sure that you replace another. Until we come your way again next time with another interesting episode. For more information on housing, you can follow us on all our social media handles. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to download Housing TV app on your Google Play Store. I am Mimi Tondo. Bye for now.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.
At the causes of rural-urban migration, and then you look at just one thing, which is what? The search for greener pastures. But if government has put in place a very formidable and a very formidable policy that would enable a form of dividends of democracy, dividends of good governance into those rural areas, you find out that there will be no need to come into the urban areas to popularize the urban area, and such things usually cause for population explosion in the urban area. Because if you look at it, however, geographically, the urban places, the urban settlement is usually smaller in geographical size compared to the rural settlements.
Migration of people from the rural area to the urban has actually affected us in some ways. One, today you can see that things are very hard in the urban area, and there are no people again in the rural area, because most of everybody now has left his villages to come to Abuja in the name of seeking for a greener pasture, and it has made everything now to be scatter. Cost of food, cost of living, house rentage, and the rest. Everywhere in Abuja today now, you cannot see any. Everywhere now has been turned to estate, that's it. And a lot of people that cannot even have the money to afford in the payment of the estate. So it has actually affected some of us that are in the city.
Urban migration has really impacted us negatively because the people that started with the responsibility of providing social amenity at the grassroots are not doing that. As such, you see a lot of rural-urban migration, and that has an impact on terms of security challenges we are facing right now, because if people are adequately employed at the grassroots, I have no business coming to Abuja to look for a job for crying around. If everything is okay, I'm having my daily work, I don't need to come to Abuja to make it in life. But because at the grassroots, the local government has been neglected so badly that right now we only have 2 tiers of government, the state and the federal government. You can see that is impacting seriously on an urban, and the benefits of the urban is not commensurate with the inflows of people coming to the urban.
We are in Abuja. Naturally, houses in Abuja are high. So I think that maybe because of the infrastructures they're putting in place, and because it's a new city still, we're still developing it, and we want to put it at world standard. I think that's part of why everything is high. However, I think there's a way that the government can help to cushion the effect on the citizens. There should be housing policies that are put into place where funds are made available for people to access these funds, especially for developers as well. So there should be grants, there should be funds, so that they've developed properties which are affordable to people. We have grant providers outside of the shores of Nigeria that are ready to sponsor development of mini estates. We can take advantage of that. That can help in crashing the price of housing in Abuja, and it will go a long way to affect the prices of other things. And I think for me that's it.
The houses are not worth the amount that they charge for them, in my opinion anyway. The rooms are small, the spaces are small, they are compact, but the prices keep getting higher. It's not as if the facilities are being improved upon.
When it comes to the issue of house rent, honestly, the house rent in Abuja is something else now. One bedroom flat to be hearing from $1 million, $3 million, depending on the area though. But I think the government should do something. At least there should be regulation for house rent. It's very important because people are going through a lot. People are suffering. Some people cannot even feed. You know, imagine a man that has 4 children. It's not easy. You understand? There should be regulation for house rent. It will help us. All these landlords, you know, they should come together and let them understand that there should be a price tag for every rent. You can't just wake up because you build that, you just add money. You understand? You expect people to pay. Some people are squatting in this town, family members squatting. You understand? You see 4 people living in one room. It's not healthy. You understand? It's not good. So they should do something about the house rent. If they can regulate the house rent, as in the housing system or whatever, it will go a long way, please.
House rent, as far as I'm concerned, is another big deal, most especially here in FCT. You find out that I don't know if it is the landlords or the agents that are behind the increase in house rent, but if you check very well, you find out that the house rent is exorbitant. Now, if the government was coming, I think the government have to come in on the aspect of what we call extended housing unit. Are you getting me? They can come in to build all these housing units that even the lesser citizen can afford. Are you getting me? Give them a space of time, like let's say 10-15 years. No matter what you're doing, instead of paying these house rent, let me say 1 bedroom flat or a self-contained 1-room apartment, everybody or whatever, lay your hand on the one you can easily afford, while the government gives you time to pay up. I think that is really, really necessary. Secondly, I think there should be a policy and a law that will guide the agents and the landlord, and equally the tenants.
so that if that thing is, I think if the law comes in a system that it will be well regulated, are you getting me? I think it will be very easy for common citizen to have a housing unit. Are you getting me? The houses you can get at the level of 1 point something million, even 500 something thousand. If the government can come in to regulate it, I think some citizens can even get it at the rate of